Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another edition of World Talks here on TVP World, where every word matters. I'm your host, Benjamin Lee, and please join me and my guests on this next interview. Germany is at a political crossroads as Chancellor Olaf Scholz faces a decisive vote of confidence. This procedural step follows the collapse of Scholz's fragile three-party coalition last month that paves a way for a snap election on February 23rd. As Germany braces for this transition, questions loom about the future political landscape, with the AfD rising and the center-right CDU poised to lead. Joining us today on TVP World to discuss this is Andreas Umland from the Stockholm Centre for Eastern European Studies. Hello, sir, and welcome to TVP World.
Hello, thanks for having me again.
So, can you help us break down the significance of this confidence vote and how we got here in the first place?
Today's vote is largely formality. It is expected that there will be a no-confidence vote for Scholz. And as a result of that, then there will be, on the 23rd of February, new elections for the parliament, for the Bundestag, which will then lead most probably to the departure of Olaf Scholz from the office of the Chancellor, the formation of a new government with a new chancellor and a new coalition. And all of this has been the result of the departure of one of the three coalition parties earlier this year, the Free Democrats or Liberal Democratic Party, which is currently struggling to collect the 5% in the electorate to get in the next parliament again. So this is now a fragile period, of course, a very unfortunate development because there are so many changes happening around the world, especially in Ukraine, but also a new president coming in the US and many other challenges. And this sort of instability right now in Germany comes at an unfortunate moment.
Right, turbulent times indeed. Like you mentioned, there's a lot going on in the world. However, we are seeing the collapse of Scholz's coalition. Can you help me understand what led to the collapse and how does this reflect on the challenges of governing with such a diverse coalition?
The coalition for the last 3 years has been the first three-party coalition in the history of the Federal Republic of Germany. And it is now seen by many commentators as not a success because there has been a lot of tension, a lot of discussion within the coalition, disunity, and also economic stagnation or even decline to a certain degree. And this has been largely blamed on this coalition, although one has to say that the current stagnating situation in which Germany is in, if you look at the economic data, is largely a legacy of the failures of the previous chancellors or the previous chancellor, Angela Merkel, who has missed to initiate a number of innovations in the German economy and public administration that were needed and that were delayed. And only now Germany is trying to introduce these innovations, these necessary innovations. But it will now take some time before they take effect. And currently Germany is in a rather sad situation. And that is also one of the reasons that the coalition broke down, this perception that it has been a failure. And that is then also reflected in the declining electoral support in the opinion polls for the three coalition parties, the Christian Democrats, Social Democrats, and Free Democrats. Oh, sorry, the Social Democrats, the Greens, and the Free Democrats.
You mentioned a lot of these economic issues stems from the legacy of the previous Chancellor, Angela Merkel, but this topic somehow isn't really kind of being touched upon only until very recently. Is this an oversight, or have they not considered that being a possibility and enact some changes once this coalition came into power?
It has now become a topic, and I think more and more people in Germany are looking at Angela Merkel's legacy critically. She was a very popular chancellor, and she was both liked by the common people in Germany and also by the commentators, by the political experts. But now, as time goes on and we see what is happening after her chancellorships, many, especially among the political experts, have come to see her as a not very successful chancellor, both concerning, let's say, innovation in the economic and public administration, but also the issue of foreign policy and security policy. She left the Russian problem, if you want to call it that way, unresolved, and now Scholz and the new chancellor next year will have to deal with that. But it has been partly a legacy of her, I would say, wrong decisions in the past.
Right, and looking at the current political sphere, we also see the rise of the AfD party. It has been a wild card in German politics. How do you think the rise of influence of this party might come to influence the coming elections and, more importantly, the broader political landscape?
The rise of the Alternative for Germany has indeed been a major change in the German party political system. We did not have such a party for most of the history of the Federal Republic of Germany after World War II. And now we have this right-wing radical party in parliament. And this party has become especially popular in East Germany, paradoxically, in a way, because East Germany was behind a so-called anti-fascist protection wall, antifaschistischer Schutzwall, for 40 years. But nevertheless, we have now a party that is clearly right-wing populist and partly even right-wing extremist, partly even fascist, that is now the most popular party in East Germany. And it has now become the second most popular party in all of Germany. But nevertheless, the influence on federal level politics of this party will, at least so far, I would expect to remain limited, because this party is stigmatized, it's isolated, it is an outcast, basically, in German politics, and no other party wants to coalesce with it, wants to be an ally of this party. So it is a major change, and this party will probably get something below 20% in the next Bundestag elections, but it will remain an isolated opposition party and have, at least for now, no direct influence on governmental politics.
Right, like I mentioned, the AfD party is so far very isolated. There's no party that wants to build a coalition with them. But like you mentioned as well, the party is gaining traction over the times. Do you think that is kind of sustainable to kind of shun this party out indefinitely? Or do you think as the party continues, if the party continues to rise, there will be a critical point where some parties do need to form a coalition with them and able to even govern at all?
That's a very good question, and it's, of course, also a very hot issue in Germany among the political scientists and experts discussed what is the future of this party. I think so far many hope that this party will decline again. It has been, to some degree, a regional phenomenon. For now, as I said, it is linked to East Germany and where it gets most of its support. But we see in other countries, or West European countries, the rise of such parties and then also their participation in government. So maybe this will happen at some point. At the current stage, I would say this party is so extreme in its political program and demands that I don't see it being part of any future government, and it will remain for the time being, I would think, isolated and stigmatized. It's simply what we call in Germany not koalitionsfähig, not able to participate in a coalition. So for now, I think it's a situation that remains unresolved. In which direction it will develop, however, it's very difficult to say.
Right, and like I mentioned, this party does have some very unconventional stances when it comes to German politics. One of its leaders recently came out and sounded off against NATO, speaking about even potentially pulling out, which is pretty much unthinkable for a lot of German politics. However, there's also the question of whether or not the purely isolation is enough, and whether or not the rise of the party in and of itself would kind of drag the German politics to their position, seeing that there's more and more traction. Do you think that's a possibility where German politics will see a shift because of some of the populist rhetoric that is occurring in the AfD party?
So far, what I see is rather an opposite effect, because this party is ultranationalist, and even some of its leaders today promote slogans from the Nazi period. This sort of drive of the AfD out of NATO, even out of the European Union, is also then sort of outrageous, and is just part of this generally strange political position that this party is taking. So maybe some people in Germany would think about, whether maybe there should be new security architecture for Europe, or whether the European Union should function in a different way. But now the AfD has occupied these positions, and it has also thereby devalued any sort of alternative. In a way that you could even argue that is a good effect of the rise of this party, that now such an extremist party is taking these anti-NATO, anti-EU, anti-Euro positions, and is thereby also delegitimizing all of this lingering anti-Westernism that indeed goes beyond the AfD. It's not just linked to the Alternative for Germany, but you have these sort of anti-Western isolationist tendencies also in other parts of the society. But now this right-wing radical party has taken these positions and thereby devalued them in a way.
Right, that's very interesting. Now, another thing that I'm looking at is AfD has indicated that they might potentially tactically support Scholz in this vote. What game are they trying to play here?
Yes, this has been speculated, and we will see what will come out of the vote, that the AfD may try to sort of unsettle the political system by supporting a party to which it is actually opposed. And both the Social Democrats and the Greens that are currently in the government are the arch enemies of the AfD. But perhaps the AfD will take here a gamble and try to sort of unsettle the German political system. That could happen, but I don't think it would have a major impact on German politics. There will be then another way to solve the current deadlock, that we don't have a majority government. This is the main issue. We need a new coalition in Germany, in the parliament, that has the majority of the seats, and that then can govern resolutely and does not have to rely on changing majorities for this or that law in parliament.
Right, so we'll have to see how the situation develops. In the meantime, thank you so much for breaking all of this down for us. I really appreciate your input and insight, and thanks for being with us on TVP World.
Thanks for having me.
Cheers. And thank you for watching this edition of World Talks. But for more news, update, and commentary, please stay tuned to TVP World.